The rain stopped the moment the coffin touched the ground, as if the sky itself had decided it had cried enough. Claire Morgan stood frozen at her father's funeral outside Seattle. Tea, her hands locked together, her heart beating too loud in her ears. This was the day she had feared her entire life. Yet nothing had prepared her for how alone she would feel, especially with her husband standing only a few feet away. Already looking bored, already checking his phone. Richard Hale had been a strong man. A quiet man. He believed in preparation, in protecting the people he loved without needing praise for it. As the final prayer ended, Claire felt something inside her break. She leaned forward, resting her fingers against the cold edge of the casket, whispering goodbye. When she turned back, most people had already walked away. Ethan hadn't waited. He stood near the car, jaw tight, tapping his foot like this funeral was a meeting that had gone overtime. Claire noticed it, but grief made her slow, heavy, like she was moving through water. "Let's go," Ethan said when she reached him. No hug, no comfort, just impatience. The drive back to downtown Seattle was silent. Gray buildings blurred past the window as Claire stared at her reflection in the glass. Her eyes looked older than they had the day before. She thought of her father's last words to her, "You'll be okay, Claire. Just trust yourself." She hadn't understood them then. When they arrived at the luxury condo building overlooking Elliott Bay, Ethan parked and stepped out quickly. Claire followed, her body exhausted, her mind still at the cemetery. She reached into her purse for her keys. Nothing. Her chest tightened. She checked again, panic rising. "Ethan," she said softly, "I can't find my keys. You didn't stop walking." "You won't need them." She froze. "What?" Ethan turned around slowly, his expression flat and distant. "I changed the locks." The words didn't make sense. They floated in the air, heavy and wrong. "Why would you do that?" Claire asked. Her voice trembled, not from anger, but shock. "My dad just died." "This isn't about emotions," Ethan replied. "It's about reality." Her heart began to race. "What reality?" Ethan sighed like she was exhausting him. "This marriage hasn't been working. I need space. And frankly, this condo is mine. I pay for it. I decide who lives here." Claire felt the ground shift beneath her. "That's not true. We built this life together." Ethan gave a small, sharp smile. "You don't know everything, Claire." The glass door slid open as someone exited the building. Ethan stepped inside without looking back. The doors closed again, leaving Claire standing there in black funeral clothes, holding her bag, locked out of her own home. People passed by. Some glanced at her, curious, uncomfortable. No one asked if she was okay. She didn't cry. Not then. Grief had already taken everything her tears could offer. She called her best friend Lena, who arrived within minutes and didn't ask questions. That night, Claire lay on Lena's couch, staring at the ceiling, her father's face appearing every time she closed her eyes. The ache in her chest was deeper, now not just from loss, but betrayal. Her phone buzzed just after midnight. An unfamiliar number. "I'm sorry for your loss. Please call me when you're ready. Michael Turner, Michael Turner." Her father's attorney. Claire hesitated, then pressed call. Michael's voice was calm, respectful. "I didn't want to interrupt your day, Claire, but your father left instructions that I contact you immediately." "I don't want to talk about legal things," she said quietly. "I understand," he replied. "But this concerns your safety and your future." Something in his tone made her sit up. "Your father set up a trust several years ago," Michael continued. "He was very careful, very intentional." Claire swallowed. "A trust for what?" "For you," Michael said. "And included in it is a property." Her pulse quickened. "What property?" "The Elliott Bay penthouse," Michael said. "Market value approximately $30 million. The room seemed to tilt. "That's impossible," Claire whispered. "It isn't," Michael replied gently. "Your father purchased it years before your marriage. He placed it in a trust under your name. No one else has ownership rights." Claire's mind raced. Ethan's confidence. His lawyer? The locks. "He thinks it's his," she said. "Yes," Michael replied. "And that's why I needed to call you." Claire closed her eyes, her father's voice echoing in her memory. Trust yourself. She finally understood. Ethan had locked her out of a home that never belonged to him, and he had no idea what was coming next. Claire stood across the street from the glass tower, her fingers gripping the strap of her bag, her heart racing faster than she expected. The sun reflected off the Elliott Bay penthouse like a silent promise. Inside, Ethan was confident, unaware that the world he thought he controlled was about to shift beneath him. Claire took a deep breath, her grief from the funeral transforming into a sharp, determined resolve. She wasn't just standing outside a building. She was standing on the edge of reclaiming everything that was rightfully hers. Michael Turner. Her father's attorney walked beside her, holding a slim folder that contained decades of careful planning. He didn't speak unnecessarily, letting Claire focus on the moment. She had spent the previous night thinking about how she had allowed herself to be overshadowed, how she had let Ethan's arrogance control her life. Now she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Clarity. The lobby doors slid open, and Ethan emerged, talking on his phone, a smug smile on his face. He didn't even notice her at first. When he finally did, his expression shifted from surprise to irritation. "Claire, what are you doing here?" he snapped, his voice loud enough to turn heads. Claire didn't answer immediately. She let the silence stretch just long enough for the weight of the situation to settle. Then Michael stepped forward, calm but commanding. "Mr. Morgan, I'm Michael Turner. I represent Richard Hale." Ethan blinked, confused. "And this building," Michael continued, holding up the folder. "It's part of the Hale Family Trust. The sole beneficiary is Claire Morgan." Ethan laughed, a sharp, nervous sound. "This is some kind of mistake." Michael opened the folder and handed over the documents. Lease agreements, ownership papers, trust documents, each page undeniable. Ethan's hands shook as he skimmed them. The color drained from his face. This can't be right," he whispered. "It is," Michael said firmly. "By changing the locks without the consent of the owner, you violated occupancy laws. You have no legal claim here." The lobby, filled with people moving past in suits and casual clothing, seemed to fade away. Claire felt a mix of relief and disbelief. The man she had trusted had locked her out, belittled her, and assumed control over a life that wasn't his to take. And now the truth was laid bare. Claire looked at Ethan, really looked at him, and felt something shift inside her. She realized she had spent years trying to make him see her, trying to bend herself to fit a vision he had of marriage. And for what? Control. Power, pride. Now all of it was gone. "I trusted you," she said quietly, her voice steady. "Even when you stopped seeing me as your partner." Ethan opened his mouth, struggling for words. "Claire, we can talk about this. We can fix it." "No," she interrupted, shaking her head. "Yesterday, when you changed the locks, you said everything I needed to know." Security approached, polite but firm. Ethan tried to argue, but the officers explained the laws calmly. He had no standing. Slowly, reluctantly, he was escorted out. The man who had once dominated her world was now a figure of past mistakes. Claire watched him leave, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside her. Sadness, relief, even a small spark of hope. For the first time in years, she felt free to make her own decisions. She didn't need validation from him. She didn't need approval to step into the life her father had carefully planned for her. She turned and walked through the lobby into the penthouse. The space was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Elliott Bay, the light reflecting off the water in dazzling patterns. It was luxurious, yes, but it was also a symbol of what her father had left her: independence, security, and a chance to create a life on her own terms. As Claire set her bag down and walked across the polished floors, she allowed herself to breathe fully for the first time in weeks. She let the grief settle in, acknowledged the loss of her father, and felt the weight of betrayal lift from her shoulders. Each step through the penthouse was a step into freedom. Days passed. Claire started organizing the penthouse, putting personal touches into the empty rooms. She discovered photographs of her father in corners she had never seen before, Images of family vacations, quiet afternoons at home, moments that spoke of a man who loved deeply but lived cautiously. Each photo reminded her that this space, this inheritance, was a bridge between past and future. One evening, as the sun set and painted the bay in shades of orange and pink, Claire received a small handwritten note left at the front desk. She opened it carefully. "Your father spoke of you often. He said you'd know when it was time to stand on your own." Michael tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of understanding. Her father had always trusted her to find her strength, even if the world around her had tried to convince her otherwise. Claire smiled. For the first time in a long while, she felt light. The penthouse was not just a home. It was a declaration of who she was, a statement that she would no longer allow anyone to define her life. Weeks went by. Claire settled into a routine that balanced work, friendships, and personal projects. She filled the penthouse with art, books, and memories of her own making. Each day she felt stronger, more confident, more alive. Then, one evening, her phone rang. She recognized the number immediately. Ethan. Her heart skipped, but not in the way it used to. She let the phone ring, watching the reflection of the city lights on the bay. She thought of the man who had tried to control her life and realized he no longer held any power over her. She turned the phone off and set it aside. For the first time, she didn't feel anger or sadness. Instead, she felt hope, a quiet, steady flame that promised new beginnings. Standing by the windows, watching the waves crash against the shoreline below, Claire understood something profound. Sometimes the doors that slam in your face, the betrayals that sting, and the losses that break your heart, they are not the end. They are a signal that a new life is waiting on the other side, and Claire Morgan was ready to step through it.